our monthly LinkedIn Live with Gina London. I'm delighted to be here. Gina, how are you?
Hi, Sam. I am very happy to be here. And for everyone who's joining us right now, Happy New Year. And I know it's the 21st. It happens to be my baby brother's birthday, by the way. Shout out to Brad. But the reason I'm saying Happy New Year is because even though it's the 21st of January, I was told that you can say Happy New Year all through January until the first payday, which is a
Really?
which
Okay.
is a great segue for what we're about to talk about. But yes, so Happy New Year to everyone as you're sitting back at your desks, home or in an office, and your inboxes are starting to fill up again, and projections are going forward, and surveys are being assessed. And it feels, as I was talking to a client from Schneider Electric before this call, she said, the holidays are a distant memory.
Yeah, I know, I know. And you know what? It's great to see you again because you've been putting up lots of great stuff on your LinkedIn. So anyone who is watching, I'm sure they're familiar with your LinkedIn account. But tell everyone a little bit about you, people that don't know you and know anything about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Gina, before
Well,
we go.
thank you. I have the privilege, Sam, of speaking and training and coaching and consulting on how to take more control of the version of you that you bring to the office, to life, how to take control of your body language, your thought processes, your strategy, the way you construct sentences, your clarity, your brevity, your vocal quality, this whole thing that we call executive presence, really being more purposefully and intentionally a human so that you can motivate others, motivate yourself, speak externally, speak internally. All this stuff is developable. And I
Hmm.
started out as a journalist, so I got into storytelling and camera presence when I was working with CNN. But really, what I love now is the practical, transferable skills that anybody can develop. You can be accepting, and you should be, of the fantastic person that you are today, and also incrementally strive to make some adaptations that better demonstrate and help you exude the version of you that you probably are already feeling inside. Let's help you get it externally because that's the only way people know the you that they're experiencing is by the choices that you make. So I help you identify those choices. I don't have all the answers, but I have great people around me and I have great interaction globally when I get to go to senior leader teams, middle management teams, every sector you can think of, finance, tech, clean energy, the gosh, I every cybersecurity. I mean, it doesn't matter where you work. If you've got still got people where you work, that's where I like to impact. So individual teams, speaking, one-on-ones, feedback, town halls, whatever it is, I've got your back. And I love that you say that I'm doing good work over on LinkedIn because full disclosure, folks, Sam helps me with my LinkedIn. And I had an amazing prospective client from Egypt, from one of the largest banks there, say to me today when we were on our call, I'm watching your videos on LinkedIn. I love your presence on LinkedIn. And that's just part of how we reach people, folks, is if you're one-on-ones, that's going to have an impact. If you're augmenting that with how you've got your presence in social media, professionally, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever your people you need to communicate with are, you should be there because your voice matters. So thanks to Sam, we're doing this LinkedIn Live today. Thanks to you for joining because you're part of that community of people who are committed to intentionally, positively impacting others. And I think, especially in like we just celebrated, or we just marked, I should say, yesterday was, I think, the year anniversary of a particular leader in the White House in the United States who, in my strong opinion, that's shared by many others, does not demonstrate positive, purposeful, uplifting communication and leadership, the consistency, the dependability. And so I think we in the business community in particular, we have an opportunity to demonstrate what principle looks like over power and positioning, and that we believe and long lasting positive legacies. Success looks like different things to different people, but how you impact others is the combination of the words that you choose, the trust that you build, the rapport that you consistently can provide. And that's through purposeful communications in a positive way. So that's my background. That's my commitment. That's my wonderful relationship that I'm happy to have with Sam for so many years now. And with anyone who's listening, if we aren't already connected and you've got a question or you want to send something to me, please do, because I would love to really create a powerful community of like-minded people who are committed to making a positive difference in a world where there's so little that we can control.
Well, you definitely do that, Gina. And, you know, you definitely have executive presence. Several people spoke to me about you recently saying, you know, that you definitely know when you walk into the room. But I know that there's a lot of kindness there as well. And I've seen how you treat people and how you speak to people. And, you know, I know today we're going to be talking about how to ask for a raise in 2026. But just if anyone doesn't know Gina and you're not connected to Gina, like, you know, I've learned so much from Gina about how to show up and how to, you know, maybe just even the power of the pause. Like I have learned that from you, and I find myself doing that now in presentations. So you're going to learn loads today. If you want to ask a question, I'll put a little note here. If you want to ask a question, do put it in the comments, and let's rock and let's find out how to ask for a raise. How do you ask for a raise in 2026?
Fantastic. You know, the thing here, by the way, is as a overarching caveat, because you were talking about the power of the pause. All these little ingredients that we'll be sharing, some of it will be the strategy, some of it will be the construction, some of it will be the delivery techniques, which includes pausing. It's not to be overly prescriptive, because I think sometimes people can go, well, if I take all those on and I'm going to become a robot. The idea is I want you to start to be able to identify those ingredients in your spice pantry so that you can select them with more confidence in real time. Most of us have never actually examined and unpacked what communications even is. So then you can repack, you can identify them, repack them with purpose so that you can start to think again in real time. I probably should pause. Why don't I try a question here? What's motivating the other person? Have I practiced my message out loud? This doesn't make you a robot. It makes you a more intentional human being. And so I'm excited about this stuff, not to be pedantic or prescriptive or make all of us carbon cutouts of each other, but that you've got your own set of skills that situationally you're going to feel confident about bringing out in real time.
Well, definitely, I know that people are watching. Hello, Yazir, who has just joined us. We are live on LinkedIn and Twitter and X and YouTube at the same time. So, Gina, where would people start if they feel like they deserve a raise? Where do they start?
First of all, start with the concept that it doesn't have to happen at the annual review time. I think a lot of times what happens is people think, oh, I can only do it during my annual review. If you have periodic checkups, those are other opportunities. You can at least think about it to yourself. First of all, I've got an opportunity at any time. Now we also think about what is the best time. Because if you do get a great review, that might be a good time to socialize the idea. So I think the first concept I would say to everyone is start getting more aware of your editorial calendar of your touch points or your communication points with that supervisor or that person that would be the one that would sponsor you for that promotion or that raise. When we talk about raises, by the way, it doesn't always have to be a monetary amount. It could be expansion on your holidays for your package, or it could be some other privilege like flex time. So think about when we talk about raise, let's talk about the ideas of how we curate our employee package so that we're feeling more valued and feeling that we are being more happy. I mean, you're happy and you've got to be happy in your job. And so whatever aspects you're thinking of, they're all worthy of a conversation. So what is it you're wanting? The time could be any time. Now let's sequence out when that best time would be. So how do we socialize it? Number one, take a look at that supervisor. We'll just call him supervisor for the sake of this conversation. Think about the interactions that supervisor has with you. What's happening in that person's day or in that month? If they're off to a conference, or if they've got a big presentation, or if they've got their vice president's going to be visiting, might not be the best time. When I was a kid, we never asked my mom for anything if she came home and she was frazzled after a day at work. So think about your time, think about their time. That's very important. So that's the first part about getting the timing right. Then you don't probably have the meeting without saying to your supervisor, I'd like to have the meeting. You don't catch them in the hallway. You don't just launch at them in your meeting, but you do want to prep them. Could we have a talk about, could we talk about my current roles and responsibilities? Could we talk about my compensation at this point? Could we have that conversation in a month, in a week? When would it be a good time to initiate that conversation? Get some conceptual buy-in. You're not talking about numbers yet. Get conceptual buy-in and agreement around just to have the conversation is a little yes. So we think about psychology, the series of successive yeses. So that's the first thing. Timing, their timing, get that first yes for the time. And then be flexible. If something happens in their situation that's going to make it not the best time, be okay to reschedule. Don't get upset, and don't try to force feed somebody in this conversation if they're not ready. So set your table.
Set the table first. Okay. Actually, we got a little comment there from you here saying a lot of people feel shy to ask for a raise, especially in competitive environments. They feel they don't deserve it. How do you get out of that thought process?
Well, and I think Jasir, and I think the first part there is to remember that your conversation with your supervisor doesn't mean that you're asking for something that you don't deserve. You want to have a good rapport with that person. So you're going to ask for their own buy-in. When do you think would be a good time? What's the environment in the organization right now? Be wise, because if you've just, the organization has just gone through a bunch of cutbacks or belt tightening, then even in the best situation, if you are completely deserving, doesn't mean that those figures are there. So also think about some variables. For your own mindset, what Yasir was talking about is, what was your last review? Are you getting good numbers? Did you just land a big deal? Did you complete a project that you took on board in addition to your other responsibilities that demonstrates the kind of proactive contributor that you are? So think about, we set the table and the timing. We get our mindset around, and this is going to help you for what you're going to say to your supervisor. Get your mindset around what your situation is. What are your competencies? What are those projects? How have you benefited the organization? And don't just go in your own mental checklist. Ask others that you respect for their own thoughts on this. If you get that performance review, that's one. Another thing is asking your colleagues. You don't want to go in saying, I deserve a raise, and have a big blind spot that you weren't expecting. And that supervisor says, well, what about those 12 days in a row that you were late every day? And you think about what you're going to be bringing in, and also think about the objections that you need to overcome. So get out of your own way. Don't kick the can every 6 months or every year. And then the next thing, if the company's not offering them and you're not asking, get frustrated that you haven't received anything. Because if you haven't, like the whole, if you don't ask, you don't get kind of thing, sometimes that's true. So be willing to have the conversation. I'd love to talk to you about what the landscape is. You might not be just jumping into, hey, I deserve a 10% increase instead of a 2% increase, because that might not be realistic. So here's the specificities. And I've just been working with a big C-level client in a country that wants to go to a global role. And so now this person's narrative, which is for all of us, your ability to speak very clearly about what you have contributed, the value of that. So if you say, I got this project or I got this deal, don't forget to say frankly, how much money that saved, how much money that earned, what's the value of that? And even if it wasn't a big sale, if there's some way that you can make a business case for what it is you did, that's important, because the narrative, I'm a big hard worker. That's an abstract. Give me an example of why. So if you say things like capabilities, I want you to have a specific example of why. That I'm really good at this. I work harder than this. I want you to validate those. Then can you give a number around to it? If you can't, I don't know all your situations, but I want you to think in that kind of evidence-based, factual examples, as specific as possible, over the past year, over the past 2 years, over the past 6 months. Be very specific. Try to have 3 top of mind, 5 possibly, but no more, because that's probably going to be exhaustive to someone. If you can make your case, make it strong, and prioritize those evidence that you're going to submit.
Okay.
Should I keep going? Should we take a
Yeah.
pause?
So yeah. So
Pause.
three examples definitely of the value of what you've brought to the table over the last few months or whatever. That's a really good tip. So evidence-based is really, really good. Okay, then what's next? Then?
Tell a story. Okay, so and that's not, you're not, I want you to write this stuff down, because you might, what brain dump, first of all. Yay, exactly. And see, hold that up again, Sam, just real quick. See those kind of notes? That is the first step. I like to call that, the brain dump. And Hemingway gets misattributed for this line, but it's a great line. Write drunk, edit sober, meaning get it all out. Don't worry about the prioritizing or the chronology of it, but just brain dump. Put it like, oh yeah, I did this or I did this. Go back through your calendar. Ask your other colleagues if you don't recall, if you worked on a project together, what was it particular about that project that stands out to you? That how did I contribute? Because you might get some great insights from someone else that's been working with you over the course of the year that might have slipped your own mind. Be doing your homework on this is the point. When you get all of those notes out, now you can put it through. And hey, talk into Gemini, ChatGPT, whatever your AI is. Help it organize your thoughts for you if that's something that you'd like to help them consolidate. Have them prioritize it. Have them even them as in the masters of the universe in AI. But you can also prompt it to say, I'm wanting to get this role. I'm wanting to get this increase. What do you see as my strengths? What do you see as my challenges in the narrative that I have so far? You use it. It's a tool. It's not going to speak for you, but you can use it to help organize your thoughts. So that's where I think these types of AI tools are really helpful. Now, you also then want to make sure that you're realistic. I talked about the financial situation, the budgeting of your organization. So if you don't have a clear understanding of that, can you go somewhere within the organization to get that? Have other departments been giving raises? Have bonuses been given this year? If they haven't, then you're in a squeeze and you need to be realistic. So you don't just come in and demand in a vacuum, I'm worth this and I haven't had this and I deserve this and here are my case studies. Well, great. You don't understand the ecosystem you're working in. I don't mean for you to not do it. You could potentially do it and then ask that open-ended question. What's the ecosystem for increases this year based on where you are? Because what's the likelihood and what's the range of increases I could even expect to consider? Get some buy-in make your supervisor your advocate. People like to being asked questions like that because now they're vested in your own journey. Because they probably have to pop it up through procurement and things too. They might not be, depending on the size of your organization, they might not be able to grant it to you singularly. They might think you're worth it too, but there's other things to consider. Yes, Miss
Yeah,
Tam,
can I ask you? Okay, I'm going to challenge you a little bit here, right? So let's say they go to the supervisor and they say, you have a fat chance of that. What if it's just that kind of answer and they're not supportive? Like, should you still?
Well, look. If you've got that kind of if you've got a supervisor that talks to you like that, first of all, then this is an opportunity for you to start to be introspective about, are you in a place where you're being valued? Is the truth of the situation, if your manager is the roadblock, you may be blocked. I mean, I don't like to work with the idea of the workplace as idealistic. I like to work at it as it truly is. So I'm not going to sit here, Sam goes, well, you had a fat chance. And I go, oh, well, here's this technique that you can, because that technique's probably not going to work. If that person talks to you like that, that's a very clear signal of the culture that you're in and the situation that you're in. Now, you might be able to find an advocate parallel to that person or possibly above that person. But of course, you risk getting that person who's already very frustrated with you even more if you go around their back to try to put pressure on that person. The best response I would say in that situation is, what do you suggest I do? What's the business development plan that you think would work? Is it the environment? What do you mean by fat chance? Is it the environment that's the fat chance because of budget constraints or the uncertainty of the business at this moment? Or is it my performance? What if it is my performance? Can I specifically do to be in a better position 3 months? And what time frame would you suggest I come back?
And it might have been the wrong time when they asked. Maybe that person was stressed and they went, oh, fat chance, and walked off.
Exactly. And so that's why you have to, and again, you need to be every single person listening. You don't ask for something in a vacuum. That other person who is your manager or your supervisor, they are working in their own situation of pressures and frustrations and demands. So you're right. If you walk into the room or you turn on that virtual meeting and that person seems extremely stressed, it might be time for you to pivot a bit and say, hey, what's going on? What's happening with you? And be prepared to not make the ask in a time like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a lot in a line like this. This is why it records. Sorry, this is why one more thought. This is why we need to be emotionally aware of the other people, because it's going to help us be more successful ultimately. If that person says, oh, well, you have a fat chance, and you know from your history with that person, they're generally more receptive, or they're generally kind, or they're generally supportive of you. Well, then that's an aberration. That's an unexpected reaction from them. So you are certainly able to say, hey, I hear you. What's going on? What's on your mind? Let's park that for a moment. Let's talk more about you. Even if you're the subordinate to a leader, sometimes people like to have an opportunity to vent. So be flexible enough. Even if you're prepared, be in the moment and be flexible. Don't try to steamroll something through. It could really have a backlash.
Okay, so
thanks for that, Sam. That was a good challenge.
So I was just thinking of Yasir there as well. I was thinking from his perspective, maybe. What do you suggest I do? Yeah, that's really good. So okay, so I get to the meeting and I have the meeting with the person and I lay out my table and so what do you suggest you do next?
Right. And so one of the things I didn't touch on, but it's important as you're building that case, I think it's important to say, I'd love to, something like, thanks for the time. I'm looking forward to talking to you about raise opportunities, compensation packages. Think about whatever the vernacular is in your own organization or your own business, because people have different ways of talking about this thing. So don't use my words if it doesn't make sense within your company. So whatever that phraseology is important for you to customize it to your audience and to your organization. I know that's obvious, but sometimes people start to pick words out of some talk track and it doesn't sound like them, or it doesn't sound like the way the people talk in their business, and every business has its own kind of vocabulary. So would love to talk about thank you for, because they know what the topic is about. You're not going to spring it on them in just a general project update, because that's going to be not a great time. Thanks for agreeing to have this conversation. Here's what I'm wanting to put forward, the 3 points. Now you say, and I've looked at the comps, the comparables, either in the industry, in your department, if other people are getting paid, for whatever transparency there might be in the organization, that the range of the pay grade for whatever position you're in might be from here to here. It's, I don't know, 35 to 45, and you're getting paid 40. And you really think you have done some things over the last couple of years that moves you to the 45 range. Then make your case that that's within the wealth of the realm of possibility within the department, because others in that organization are getting around that same range. If you also know that particular role you have in other companies in the same sector, the range is such, I'm here, here's where I'd like to be here, use that case. And then I would put the question back to them. What are your thoughts on this? So that's not the same as saying is take it or leave it, or I want this. What are your thoughts on what I've said so far? You can even stop midway before you make the actual ask, but I would make the ask.
Yeah, so you'll kind of know by them anyway, their body language and stuff, wouldn't you? And do you suggest they dress up for this meeting?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, I want you to dress up. I want you to dress within the range of what your role is. So if you're, I don't know, a cybersecurity guy, and usually the attire is business casual, and you suddenly come in a 3-piece suit, I mean, that shows you're really eager. But if but I mean, you don't have to put on a tuxedo. But the idea is that you want to be professional. I mean, I'm hoping that you've been professional all along within the range of your. I hope that you're not suddenly going from the Rumply T-shirt with the Tom and Jerry logo on it. No offense to Tom and Jerry, and now you've got a button-down shirt. I hope that you're still keeping yourself that brand. That brand of you has already been speaking volumes. So it might be disingenuous if suddenly you ironed a shirt where you've never ironed a shirt up until this point. So let's think about that. You're sending signals all the way along about, am I creating the image and the impact that I think that's worthy of this particular price point? So yeah, should you dress up? Yes. But should you have always been dressed? Yes.
Exactly. Suit up and show.
Correct.
So when you ask them what are their thoughts, and you've said your case, and you leave that meeting, let's say they don't get the raise. What do they do? What do you
suggest? And a couple of things here too that's important, as I've been, I think, very clear that we're talking business case, evidence-based, comparables within the department or the division or within the sector outside your organization. What I have not said, and I want to make clear why I've not said it, is because I had an extra baby, because my husband lost his job, because he's emotionally, because I'm just deserving of this, and please, this is not a place, as even though it's an emotional ask. It's not. So many HR directors or supervisors that I've worked with, that their person that has come in for an ask like this, they've gotten very emotional about it. That's not the way they should be basing their decision on whether or not to give it. And it shouldn't be something that you're bringing. It might be in your mind, but you're a business professional, and so you should be having this presentation in a business professional guideline or guardrails. So I want to put that out there. Now, if they tell you we really can't, the response is, I appreciate you taking time for this. Can you tell me, can you expand on that? Is it the ecosystem in the business? Is it my performance? If it's your performance, what do you suggest? Because you definitely want to go out of there with an understanding of clarity of, if it's performance that is holding you back, don't get defensive. What's the business plan What are the areas of opportunity that I should be focusing on? Can you help me prioritize this? What are the first things that you would suggest I work on? And how can I demonstrate that to you?
Yes. How can I demonstrate that to you is great. Yeah.
And when, and by when would be, because I think when sometimes we get too nodding that we're in agreement on something, but we don't actually have true marching orders and understanding. They might be thinking something else. We might be thinking something else. If we haven't synced those thoughts, then they walk away thinking it was a good conversation with some clarity. You walk away thinking that it was really ambiguous and nothing gets changed. They come back to you for 3 months with, I haven't seen any change in X, Y, and Z. And you say, oh, I didn't actually know that X, Y, and Z was on the table. So sync that stuff up. Be specific. Keep asking questions. What else is a real powerful question?
What else?
Well, I really think you're da 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 da. And what else, you say, to have them expand even further. And then after they've expanded or expounded on everything that you can think of as to why you didn't get it, the board's going through a reorganization, this division's actually getting budget cuts. That's external stuff that you can't control. If it's things that you can control, you want real clarity on what those are. Then you want to get the prioritization, because you can't probably do, if it's stop being late, then you need to get in the car or get on the Zoom, or you need to, that's an easy fix. If it's the way you communicate with your colleagues, what specific, can I get some coaching? I don't just acknowledge it, because your habits are very hard to break. Is there a resource available for me to get some coaching to give me new frameworks so that I can muscle memory new ways of responding? Because that shows you're committed. If you just nod your head and say, oh, okay, but you're in your mind going, I'm never going to do that. I don't agree with them. I'm really defensive. Then you're at an impasse. And unfortunately, the business and the business leader aren't going to ever give you anything if you aren't willing to make that change, and you want some specificity around that change. I mean, that's the hard truth on this stuff. I had a CHRO of a big organization in the Middle East last year. The 360s came in. She was getting compensated quite well, but she wanted more. And the 360s came in from her counterparts in other divisions that she was quite a gossip, and she was creating a toxic environment in her department. I had to deliver that as her coach. The level of frustration and defensiveness and not meism that was going on there, and trying to pass the blame. If you hear a blind spot, be open. It's going to hurt, but be humbled out enough to go, okay, what do I do? Help me demonstrate that that's changing. Well, it never happened. Another coach had to come in. That coach said the same thing, surprise, that I said. And I just found out yesterday in a call, because I was no longer the coach mid-year last year. And that person has since resigned.
Right.
Never got the increased package. In fact, didn't end up keeping the role. So
and should you put a time like, it can help me demonstrate over the next 6
months? Yes. Because you both want to be in alignment on it. And because let's have a check-in but I would say this, what would you recommend as our next check-in to assess or to track my progress? Because you don't want to say, I'll see you at my next progress report, my next regular, like 3 months from now, if you haven't been making anything, or you haven't been visible enough that they've seen it. Your supervisor might be in another country. Your supervisor might only see you intermittently through Zoom or Teams. So you got to think about, how do I work visibly? If something's been identified that it's not working, and you're open enough to take that on board, then by gosh, you want to be able to show to that supervisor, you want to signal that you're making that change. So if I had been that CHRO, as frustrated that someone was saying that I gossip all the time, I would say, thank you for that feedback. I'm humbled out by this. I'm going to go back and make a development plan for the next 3 weeks. Will you meet with me in 3 weeks to have a check-in? Then what I would do is I go right back to my team and I would be very transparent and say, you know what? This has been brought to my attention. I am committing with your help to act this way so that you can watch me acting this way now. If you find that I start to veer into my pattern, please, I'm going to empower all of you, each of you, to whatever the safe word is. But see, what you've done then is you've told your team that you're committing to this. The team's going to start watching you for this, more of this style. They're going to be saying things to the other team. Like these types of things can change. But you don't just take it on board and are quiet about it. Signal it out so that others can hold you able. It's going to be more effective that way than you just take it on board. And I've had clients go, oh, I'd like to do the signaling thing because that feels very American style of announcing it. But open commitment psychologically will be better for you because you're vocalizing it. Your team will be taking that on board to look for it in a positive way. And it's not just gossip. It can be any sort of thing. I've been late. I'm committing now to come in 15 minutes early for things. Please start to mark this. I used to have my phone out in every meeting. That's not me. This is another client. Now I'm committing to not have the phone. If you see the phone, but what you're doing is you're signaling that behavior. So the next time those reviews come through, those people are like, oh yeah, she hasn't been doing this. She hasn't been doing this. It's not just you decide not to show the phone because they're going to still remember the phone.
Yeah.
Previous time. So you need to kind of make that new line in the sand. And that way I'm joining the gym. Okay, great. Everyone's now, hey, this week I was at the gym 3 times. It's not broadcasting all your accomplishments, but it is helping them see you in the new light that you're trying to commit to. That reinforces the commitment.
Yeah, so you kind of have to work for that raise.
You've got to work visibly. You've got to work visibly. If you've just got your head down and you think that everybody's watching and aware of what you're doing, they're not, because they're busy in their own little heads about their own situations and the value that they're wanting to receive. And that supervisor review, as well intended as they are, they've also got their own career path progression that they're focused on, their own problems at home, their own things that they're frustrated with. So we've got to be the little horns that toot positively about ourselves. And if we get feedback that isn't serving us, then we've got to be willing to take that on board. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And you might even need to say, okay, I appreciate this. May I come back to you in a week to share my reflections? Because you might not even be able to make a commitment during that meeting because you were going in there thinking you were going to get a 5% increase or a new bonus package or something, and you got shot down in blind spot areas that you weren't prepared for, and you're mad. So put your thumb right in that palm to keep your face engaged in a professional way and say, I appreciate the feedback. May I come back to you and give a date that makes sense and share my reflections? Maybe you can't even respond to it at that moment. I don't know what the situations are or your temperament, but I want you to be prepared with the tools to guard your temperament about doing anything that may make it worse, like getting offensive, which is what happened in that CHRO story that I'm telling you about. She got extremely defensive. They had like an intervention for her.
Wow.
She got so defensive, and of course that made everybody see her in even a more negative light.
Yeah.
Emotional regulations are hard, folks. Regulating your emotions is not always easy. And yet, if you are wanting to build your positive impact, build your relationships positively with others, the responsibility of how we comport ourselves is part of our brand. Like, what's your brand? It's how people experience you. Oh, it's your brand. It's these contrivances. No, it's just the collection of experiences that people have had with you when you don't think they're watching, when it's a stressful situation. And asking for a raise is a stressful situation. How you respond to that goes into their memory bank.
Yeah, for sure.
So be aware and take control of that.
Absolutely. So for anyone who just joined us, hi Stephen, who has joined us from the US, as far as I know. So think about the right time, lay out your table, ask colleagues um, about your strengths, your challenges, build your case. Um, what was the other one? Yes, can you?
Try not to be emotional.
Yes, and then if you get a negative, not the response you wanted, maybe ask, what do you suggest? What are the areas of opportunity? And help me demonstrate how, and then put a time on it. Like maybe we can meet
Yeah.
up again and as a
It's not maybe we can meet up again, because that's too wishy, that's too love you, that's too
let's meet
because
again.
that's vague. Maybe
Yes.
we can meet again. Sure. You walk out of the office. When?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When can, so questions that start with what and when. Specificity is really helpful when you're trying to a sequence and have some clarity around that sequence. And this kind of question stuff doesn't happen innately. So
Mm-hmm.
training yourself to say, when shall we meet next? What should I prioritize? When should I get you my prioritizations? Maybe your supervisor might say, we've covered a lot of ground. You prioritize things for me, which is perfectly within their right. You can certainly ask them to help, and some supervisors will be more than willing and happy to do that. Others will be wanting to empower you to make the prioritizations, and that's okay too. But what you're wanting to do is get clarity on the what and the when.
Yeah. Great.
And keep your face controlled. Dig that thumb right into your palm so that you don't look disgusted or frustrated or annoyed or sad. I mean, it's not that you can't be a human being, because you can and you are. And yet, to take more control of the worthy, valued contributor that you are, help them envision you being worthy of more. Even if you come in and say, here's my case study and the things that I've done, here's my analysis on how much this is paid in other parts of the company or other or other comparable companies. And here's the vision I have for what I'll do in the next 6 months with this new promotion, this new raise, this new whatever. Here's what else I can take on board. If you can give them a vision piece too, before that's a great piece, because now you're helping them see the horizon of you, not just business as usual, but a little more income, a little more responsibility, perhaps.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, that's an important piece, actually. Yeah, well done. Thank you. Thank you, Gina. So if anyone wants to get in touch with Gina, well, obviously here on LinkedIn, also Substack and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. But if you go to languageofleadership.com or ginalondon.com, you will be able to see her courses that Gina has, and you can watch them at your own pace. Definitely check them out. There's the power presentations, how to project, all of these wonderful tips that will help you in any scenario. So, Gina, is there anything you'd like to add?
I'm just so happy that here we are in January, Sam, and that look, we're back to work, as I was saying at the top of the thing. The holidays are in the all too distant rearview mirror, and that these types of things continue. How do we communicate what our worth is? How do we think about ourselves, like Yasser was asking at the very beginning? Thank you again for that great question. How do we position ourselves? How do we take more control of our career path progression? It's all communications, folks. Everything that we do, our one-on-ones, our town meetings, our check-ins, our team collabs, they're all about communications. And so learning how to feel comfortable asking a question, maintaining your composure, asking a follow-up question. This stuff doesn't come naturally. It's learned over time. So I appreciate everybody who's dedicated some time today to this. And please know that I'm here for you. If you've got a follow-up question, Sam is a great support when it comes to helping you position online your executive brand and your own story. And every one of you has a story worth telling, because you don't know who it's going to help if you share it. But for sure, it can't help anybody if you keep it hidden inside.
Very true. Thank you, Gina. So GinaLondon.com, languageofleadership.com. Please do check it out. And Gina will be back, and we will be publishing her next LinkedIn newsletter very soon as well. So definitely reach out, keep in touch, and thank you so much for joining us.